Hello everybody, welcome back to another video. I'm hoping you guys are all having a fantastic day. So in today's video, as you can tell by the title, we will be talking about a very large storm system that will be taking place across the northwestern United States and portions of southwestern Canada. However, its impacts will be far-reaching from there, including a very prolonged period of heat. For certain areas it will be much briefer. But this heat will be the first, I guess, large heat wave of the year. We've had a few that were on smaller scales, but I'll show you the map in just a second. Some of these temperature anomalies are just rather off the hook for this time of the year. I wasn't going to say off the charts because there have been worse heat waves, and I do have a feeling that this summer there will be quite a bit of it, quite a bit of them, as these big storms, they pump up a lot of warm air, and they cause these giant swells of very warm air to kind of form across the United States or wherever, in the warm front, wherever they reside. So in this case, it's a good portion of the United States. Before I want to get into this, obviously, if you like the channel, if you're new, you don't know if you like it, so watch the video first, but you can support this channel by liking and subscribing. And if you have any comments, do so. Leave them down below, and I will do my best to answer them. Let's get right into this. So first off, let me go over the storm. So the storm right now is already kind of taking place. Notice that this is quite a bit of activity for the northwest for this time of the year. These storms, usually we have these big ones in the winter that come in. They do happen during the summer as well, so this isn't anything by itself, absolutely legendary. But notice that there are some nasty storms. I want to show you this hail core here. I don't know quite if that was a glitch or not. It doesn't seem like it was. Yeah, that is incredible. That is northeastern Wyoming right there. So thankfully not many people live here, but because of how big this was, I'm afraid that there were areas impacted, maybe some cattle. That is hail. That's not rain. As this is a radar, it does show rain or snow. But when it gets to that, criteria, those are literally baseball. There's no such thing as a baseball-sized raindrop. There is such thing as baseball-sized hail, though. And notice elsewhere areas of convection, lighter to moderate rain kind of streaming in towards. You can see the direction is pretty progressive, so any storm that does occur is pretty short-lived. Do notice some of the northern Sierras are also getting a bit of precipitation. That's not necessarily bad. They definitely could use a bit of moisture there, so that isn't all too bad. And notice that we do have an area of storms starting to erupt across Nebraska, Kansas, and into portions of South Dakota. So how this will progress? Well, first off, let me show you the Storm Prediction Center and what they think for the day today. So notice the biggest risk is right there. Notice where we had that hailstorm. That's kind of already over for those areas. But as we go into the overnight, it spreads into South Dakota, Nebraska, and further into Minnesota eventually. Though again, the biggest threat is that enhanced, and there are some big cities: Rapid City, North Platte, Pierre, South Dakota, right, and other the cities as well. In the slight, several areas, not necessarily directly within that one conglomerate, as there are other areas like Indianapolis and St. Louis impacted over here. But further back over here, we do have, just west of Minneapolis, just south of Bismarck right there. So a lot of areas on the cusp of this, but of course North Platte, and really the whole state of South Dakota. So it's a pretty big, pretty large scale event. And again, this will continue into tomorrow. Notice that Monday we have this further towards the east, and still hanging around across North Dakota. And then into Tuesday, this spreads further east as well, though again, the threat doesn't seem to be as big. The Mid-Atlantic also seeing a potential. And then Wednesday, you can see that they have a day 4 outlook for a potential cold front to do with this system directly. So as the system moves off towards the north, it will continue pumping warm air from the south. I do want to bring attention to the provinces of Alberta and Saskatchewan. Notice that there are some storms also occurring, again, mainly to do with this storm system that we are talking about. And you can see that, well, for any folks that live here, I know I do have some viewers from Canada, it does seem that you guys may be getting impacted by some storms as well, or some showers additionally going in from the south. I do want to say that there are some winter storm warnings, you can see, with some high elevation areas even picking up 2 feet of snow. That's not uncalled for. And this, I believe, have frost advisory. So you can see these areas, they go through temperature swings pretty much year round. They're rather crazy. So this is the progression of the system. Notice that's what it looks like right now. Pretty similar to what the radar looks. You're definitely not the worst scenario, right? A lot of these areas do need some rain, so not too bad. As long as it's not too abrupt. Notice this is the GFS showing that a severe weather outbreak across South Dakota tonight and into Nebraska. Notice the precipitation does stay along the northwest today, and does bring some snow into the Bitterroots, again into northern Montana, southern Alberta right there. And this, if you recall from the Storm Prediction Center, tomorrow's threat, so the day of Monday, is right here and here. So this is what the GFS shows. You can see right here, it starts going over this huge ridge of heat and starts gliding towards the south and eventually potentially into the mid-Atlantic right there. But notice this system, while it's sitting here, it's pumping a lot of warm air, and you can see those straight lines. They are blowing to the north and west from the south, and north and east from the south and west. This system, it's a low pressure here. We have a low pressure over here. They both spin counterclockwise, as all low pressures do in the northern hemisphere. We have a high pressure here. You can see these lines very weak, but once they do converge, they do strengthen, and we have kind of like this tunnel effect of very warm air going pretty far to the north for this time of the year, which is why the National Weather Service has issued, some areas are completely covered, big states like Missouri, almost all of Kansas, a good portion of Nebraska, almost all of Iowa, all of Illinois except 2 counties, right? A decent portion of Indiana, all of western Kentucky and Tennessee, all of Mississippi, all of Arkansas, good portion of Louisiana, Alabama, Oklahoma, a decent part of Texas, including western and eastern, kind of the central area got, escapes the worst, and some pretty nasty areas here towards the south and west. So this is, while the system's over here producing some flash flood watches, flood warnings, heavy rain, it is also producing the severe weather, and it's producing, obviously, this heat. So, these impacts, as I mentioned, are pretty far-reaching, even for a system that's, as I guess seemingly irrelevant for areas further eastward. But notice, again, this storm, this little area of convection that develops tonight, notice how it rides to the south eventually, and that's because it's kind of going along these lines of, I guess that dome of heat that is taking place across the south, and you can see that does eventually affect Michigan, Ohio. Some of these storms could be nasty, so don't be surprised tomorrow and Tuesday if you live across this area, if you get a nasty, potentially, hopefully not a derecho, but definitely the humidity, the moisture, it's definitely there to support a powerful, complex storm cluster. And notice right there we have that low pressure spinning away, 2 of them, again conducive towards some severe weather across the plains and some pretty heavy snow across the northwest, and it finally pulls away, and then that cold front you can see drags along, finally develops, and that's why we have the day 4 Storm Prediction Center outlook, if you recall, across Wisconsin and portions of Minnesota right there and into Iowa. Boom. That's that cold front developing, and it will continue to sag. See, Wednesday, that's what it looks like. Thursday, this thing kind of recirculates this low pressure, so it gives it a little extra boost. And on Thursday, seemingly, you can see shift towards the east, maybe into Illinois, the mid-Atlantic, and gets scooped up by another low pressure that potentially brings showery activity towards the northeast and into portions of the southeast as well. So that's the system I'm talking about. Do note that behind it, there is going to be quite a bit of cool air as a high pressure moves in. This thing will be bringing some cooler than normal temperatures for a good portion of the eastern United States, including the northeast, but it's short-lived, and notice that we have another building area of heat, and it moves in, and it does seem that if I were to choose a side, the warmth or the heat, or the warmth or the cold, the dominant pattern, I think, is going to be the heat, and it's pretty well reflected with the Climate Prediction Center 6 to 10 day outlook. So again, this isn't the next 6 days, this is 6 days out, all the way to the 10 days out, and you can see that it's mainly favoring a lot of heat for the central U.S. Cooler across the west, which isn't really that bad at all. That's actually pretty good. And cooler across the northeast, which probably, some people are bummed out about that, but if you want summer weather, that is. But notice that 6 to 10 day precipitation outlook, we have a lot of moisture across the 4 corners here. That would be really good. That would be really, really, really good. And hopefully that does happen. Notice drying out across the east. 8 to 14 day outlook. So now this is further out, right? The 20th through this 26th. Very, very similar temperature regime, and again, it's staying a bit wetter across there into the southwest, potentially some sort of a monsoon pattern developing, and I could show you that on the GFS model. These storms could produce the typical flash flood that you see sometimes, just a wall of water coming down a slope, into a dry creek of that used to be a river or whatnot. They're dangerous, but this water is nonetheless needed, and notice that it continues for quite a while, and and it may, hopefully is a pattern that will continue through the summer without, you know, too many consequences, only really limiting it to the beneficial ones. But you know, the total 2 meter or precipitation forecast from those monsoons could be pretty significant, and that would actually be pretty good. Again, avoiding California and Nevada, but at least these areas will be getting something. And notice that Texas is also drying out, which isn't good. These areas do need some rain, and they really, according to the GFS, won't be getting that much. European isn't much more favorable to these areas. It does show that monsoon rain. It does show some of that precip across the northwest, and pretty scattered across the east. Nothing, you know, and nothing really unusual for this time of the year. Canadian model, I don't like this one as much, but notice it does hold on to the same regime as what the other models show. So I do think that it is more, you know, I guess I'm trusting it more because of that. Again, there's that big low pressure. It's a big, nasty storm pumping up a lot of warm air, delivering, you know, those heat advisories. Thankfully, it is short-lived. Once that storm, you know, blows away, we will have a bit of cooler air that moves in. Again, I don't like the Canadian, so let me just go back to the European. I think it has the best handle in terms of the heat. Notice, again, there it is. There's that, you know, low pressure. Wherever it's cool, it also must be equally as hot, or if not hotter, and in this case, that's true. Very cool, very hot, and, you know, snow falling here, and potential triple-digit heat across, you know, areas in the Midwest. So that does continue. Notice Friday, Thursday, Saturday, it's still warm, but it's not, you know, as significant as the first early days of this heat wave, which really will be Tuesday and Wednesday. Well, I guess that depends for where you live, as this, you know, does spread further eastward. So Thursday will be pretty darn hot for, you know, Ohio, potentially more of the north and east, rather than, say, Minnesota, which was southern Minnesota, which will be hotter tomorrow. So, you know, it depends. But notice that what we do see is that Saturday, the weekend, will be cooler for the Northeast, Midwest. But look at that. Nasty heat moving in to the northern plains, eventually, you know, pressing into the central United States, the Great Lakes, the Midwest, and eventually, if this were to go out further into the Northeast. But you can see that it's more of a dominant heat pattern, not necessarily a cooler pattern, which may not be the best of news if you want, you know, comfortable temperatures. But unfortunately, that's what the models think right now. And I could show you an ensemble, which is basically many models combined. So it's not just one model. It's kind of like putting many minds together and seeing what they all think of. So chances are, if they show warmer than average temperature, that's probably what will happen. And let's see, right? I mean, so notice that they do show a bit of cool air after that main system pulls away, but in the long range, especially across the central United States, pretty hot, pretty warm. If it is going to be cooler, it's across the west, potentially where some of the cloud coverage from those monsoons, and potentially across the northwest where we have increased activity from precipitation. But notice it definitely way more orange colors than blue, and that's why the Climate Prediction Center is going with a warmer than average forecast. And again, a lot of these areas, you know, are under heat advisories for the next 2 days. It's not necessarily as prolonged as, you know, a big, massive heat wave could be. So that's at least good. And notice 9 p.m. this evening to 11 a.m. Wednesday. Sorry. Okay, so I think these areas already had a heat advisory, and this new one is in effect from Monday to Wednesday. So that's you can see that's, you know, I guess one on top of the other does make it a bit worse. Let's see areas like Sioux City, and let's click on your heat advisory. You can see that it is in effect from 1 p.m. to, so that's really just 1 day. So again, thankfully that's that, and you know, at least it's a progressive pattern. But some areas like Oklahoma have an extreme heat warning, and for cities like Tulsa, that, you know, probably means potentially up to triple-digit heat. And you can see tomorrow 98, so that's definitely warm. Areas like Chicago, let's click here. You know, sometimes big metropolitan areas get the worst of it because of how the urban heat island effect works. So let's click somewhere near downtown, and you can see that, you know, not Tuesday 98. That is very hot. That, you know, we haven't seen such a temperature. If we get triple digits here in a windy city, we would be seeing something we haven't seen since 2012. So that is definitely something, I guess, to be looking out for this week, whether or not that does form. Notice these storms right now are, you know, they are developing across Nebraska and Colorado. Nothing too extreme yet. I mean, they're not that numerous. The ones that did form are pretty nasty, but we'll just have to wait and see whether or not this really formulates into a big event, smaller event, or, you know, as predicted by the National Weather Service. So for now, that's the best bet, and I'll catch you all guys on the next episode. See ya. Bye.